Reimagining Success, episode 268. Is it comfort or is it complacency that's keeping you where you are? My name's Anna Lindberg, and one of the core concepts of my coaching has always been around the value of challenging yourself to get out of your comfort zone and into your growth zone, where you'll learn and grow and thrive. And yet I think there's an important distinction to be made between your comfort zone, which, let's be honest, is a pretty nice place to be, certainly from time to time, and your comfort zone and your complacency zone, if you will. So that's not such a nice place to be, where you're feeling stuck, you're being quite lazy really, and you're frustrated and bored, and you don't want to be there. You actually want to be somewhere else, but you're not doing anything about it. And I think that's a really dangerous place to be in. So that's the question we're asking on today's episode. Is it comfort or is it complacency that's keeping you where you are? You're listening to the Reimagining Success podcast, where we help you design a business and a life that allows you freedom from the 9 to 5. I'm your host, Anna Lundberg, ex-corporate good girl, now a business mentor and coach, author, mum of 2, and I'm here to help you create more freedom, flexibility and fulfillment. Now let's get started with redefining success outside of the 9 to 5. Okay, so we're well into December and the advent calendar is progressing. I think if you have one, you're opening up all those doors and we're getting closer and closer to the end of this year. Here we are celebrating Lucia-dagen. In Sweden, it's the 13th of December. It's when, you may have seen pictures, we wear, and in fact I say we because these days everyone can do it. It's not just the one chosen like a beauty pageant as it used to be, but we wear a white dress, candles in our hair, and Lucia brings the light, as well as some lovely lussekatter, saffron buns and gingerbread and mulled wine maybe as well. I think that's pretty nice. So I think they used to, the students used to sort of head round their teacher's house and knock on the door and wake them up and sing, which today seems pretty odd, and I don't think our teacher would appreciate that, but it's a beautiful tradition that we'll at least enjoy in the privacy of our own home. In the meantime, though, on the podcast, I wanted to talk about one of my favourite topics, which is the comfort zone. And if you are new to the podcast, then bear with me, or the other way around, rather. If you've heard this many times, then please forgive me because I'm going to recap. But my brand name is called One Step Outside. And this came from the quote, everything you've ever wanted is one step outside your comfort zone. And in fact, when I trained and certified as a coach originally back in 15, we were encouraged and required, in fact, to develop our own concepts and models and tools. And mine were all around growth versus comfort. That was my so-called power tool. And it was about moving out of your comfort zone into your growth zone. Now, it might seem quite mundane for those of us who are fans of growth mindset and learning and challenging ourselves and so on. But I think I know it is such a powerful concept that I come back to again and again for myself, for my clients. And it's not just a one and done that we get out of our comfort zone and then ta-da, we live our best lives. It's very easy to allow that comfort zone to shrink back around ourselves. And I say this experiencing it myself after, 10 years of having quit my job 10 years ago, 2013. Soon it'll be more than 10 years, and working for myself and having all those different experiences in the past years, I've definitely gone through moments of, shrinking back into my comfort zone, stretching it again and so on. So that's sort of the background of the concept for me. And, the value of stepping into your growth zone is the possibilities, the opportunities, the learning, the improvement, the confidence, all those wonderful things that come with growing, right? I think if you're listening to this podcast, I don't need to persuade you of those benefits. But what I think is interesting to reflect on, and that's the point of today's episode, is where are you today? And if you have been feeling and maybe thinking that you're in that comfort zone, it's really important to reflect on and distinguish between the comfort zone, a zone of comfort, which I think is actually quite positive, and a zone of complacency. Because if you are, and I know I can see a slide in front of me of a webinar I did probably 7 or 8 years ago with this, if you are really snuggly, wuggly, comfortable, and you love where you are, and you know what, it's just nice and routine, and people respect you in your job, and it's safe and stable, and you know, you're pretty confident there, you've got a sense of control, there's a nice routine, it all feels easy, really that word of ease. It's, you know, you're following your habits, and that is sort of freeing up energy to focus on your hobbies or family or do other things, right? And really allowing you to kind of coast a little bit, then that can be quite positive. And I think it's really important to have those moments and phases in our lives when we can just kind of enjoy. And while the super ambitious high performers might go, no, 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 I must achieve and excel all the time and stretch myself, that can be quite stressful. So it's quite nice to enjoy, to reap what we have sown, right? To really enjoy the fruits of our labours, lots of edible farming metaphors there. So if you're in your comfort zone, and you want to stay there, at least temporarily, I think that's fine. It's not for me to give you permission, but I think if I'm going to have an opinion on it, then actually there are lots of advantages to being in that comfort zone, and there are moments in our lives when we want to be there. Again, to actually enjoy what we have created through the challenge and growth of previous seasons, and also to prioritize other things, and just to have that stability and security. Where it gets less comfortable is if you're straying into that complacency zone, if you're feeling stuck, and if you're not just comfortable, but you're getting a little bit lazy, you're bored, you're stagnating, you're feeling frustrated, you actually might even be doubting yourself and feeling, oh, am I good enough? Simply because you're not even living up to your potential within, where you are today. Dare I say it, mediocrity? What a terrible word. And feeling possibly regret. But complacency, it's a much more, and yes, judgy place to be, because then it's you judging yourself, not anyone else, right? But that's where it's not so comfortable. That's where you're feeling that, hang on a second, this is not feeling particularly satisfying for me. You might even be sort of actually drained of energy, ironically, even though you're not pushing yourself, because you're not feeling stimulated, you're not excited, you're not learning anything, so you don't have all that wonderful energy over for family and for friends and for hobbies and everything. You're just kind of lackluster and just plodding your way through life. I think that's a really important distinction. So we shouldn't be poo-pooing, I don't think, being comfortable and enjoying, well-earned rest, having pushed ourselves a lot in the past, and just kind of going with the flow for a bit, dare I say it, yes, coasting, and enjoying that routine and sense of control and confidence where we are. But if it flows into more of that kind of negative tinge of complacency, where we're feeling stuck and, stagnating and bored and frustrated and, I just don't have the energy to do those things. That's, I think, when it's getting dangerous, and that's when we need to reflect on, hang on a second, what's gone wrong here? Now, by the way, there's the other end of the zones. So you can, if you call it complacency zone, then comfort zone, growth zone, there is the panic zone, which I think, you might say is kind of exhilarating and risk-taking and, ooh, exciting. But I think you may well go too far too soon. So you can really experience, extreme stress and anxiety, complete lack of control if you suddenly throw caution to the wind and throw yourself out into the world, really excessive risk, danger, over sense of danger of that saber-toothed tiger coming over the hill or the woolly mammoth or whatever. Well, my aunt told me that they're creating a woolly mammoth over in Texas. That's a bit fascinating and concerning, but there you go. DNA is a wondrous thing. So overwhelm and that kind of thing, right? If you go too far, if you let the pendulum swing too far, especially if you're in this complacency zone, you might be tempted to make these massive decisions that can just push you way, way out into the stratosphere, and that can be super dangerous and scary. So don't do that. But the first step, of course, is having the awareness that you don't want to stay where you are. And I think already that shift will shift your energy. It'll open up your eyes to different possibilities, and it will, actually give you a bit of a boost as you kind of are on the alert and you look for things maybe if I can recommend anything, it'd be, listen to podcasts and go for walks and sign up to things you wouldn't usually sign up to, little things, not like a 5-year MBA, don't move country, don't quit your job necessarily, but really just little things, go to like a 2-hour workshop, or head out and do something that you haven't done in a while, meet friends for something, play a musical instrument, do a sport, whatever it is, just do something, many things if you want to, that kind of give you back a bit more of that zest and energy and inspiration, and that will already do wonders, I think, to get you out of that kind of really stuck phase. Now, we'll talk about, what you can do in terms of actually changing your situation if you want to do that, but I think you might be surprised to find how those little steps can really make a difference. And in fact, of course, coming around full circle, that is the brand name that I have, my business name, One Step Outside. So yes, it can be a big leap, and sometimes we do need to take a big leap. There's a pivotal moment when we kind of have to decide if we're all in with a particular plan or not. But most of the time, one step consistently again and again and again is going to make a huge difference. It's far more manageable for you, and you can balance the risk with the reward. I always say that scary and exciting come together, and that's very true. But it's important not to push that push that way into the scary, anxious panic zone, and really stay in the zone where you're thriving. So either comfort zone, perhaps go from complacency to comfort, and remind yourself as to why you're enjoying where you are. Perhaps that's enough of a shift for you. Or if you really aren't and you just can't get comfortable anymore, then maybe it's to look for that growth zone. Start getting curious, start understanding what is the change that you're looking for, what form might that take. And that's hopefully the beginning, the first step on an exciting development that will come in 2024 and beyond. So again, I ask you, are you in your comfort zone or are you in your complacency zone? And those are two very different places, or at least they bring very different implications. Looking forward to hearing what you think of this one, and I'll see you next week. Bye for now. Are you at that point where you're asking yourself, is this really what I want to be doing for the rest of my life? And the answer is a resounding no, but you're not yet sure what you want to do instead. I get it. I was in your shoes back in 2013 when I took a good hard look at myself and my CV, and up until then I'd followed the conventional path. Good school, good university, good job. I was also single while more and more friends around me were settling down with partners and babies. Now fast forward to today and I've built a coaching and consulting business. I've published 2 books with more on the way. I've launched a podcast. But more than that, I've been able to travel the world. I've made more time for friends and family, and I've designed and shaped a location-independent business and a lifestyle that's 100% tailored to my own personal definition of success. Oh, and I've also moved countries, I've fallen in love, and I've had 2 beautiful little children. So if you want to redefine what success looks like for you, then get in touch to book a call, onestepoutside.com/call, onestepoutside.com/call, and I'd like to help you do just that.